There is a reason you were guided to this transmission at this exact moment. The echo of a recent betrayal is still ringing in your spirit, a wound so deep you thought it was fatal. You are mistaken. That pain was not an attack, it was an activation sequence. The universe did not allow them to hurt you, it commanded them to do it. Their treachery was not their victory, it was the divine pressure required to fracture the shell of the person you used to be, revealing the warrior God created you to be. This is not a theory. This is the operating manual for the next phase of your life. The agony was the price of admission, and your power is the reward. To proceed, you must consciously accept this frequency. Like this video now to anchor this energy into your reality. Subscribe to this channel to join the collective of those who are being activated alongside you. Comment 77 below as the divine code that signals your spirit's consent to this transformation. And when this transmission is over, play it again, letting it saturate your subconscious as you sleep, for this is not just a message, it is a recalibration. Chapter 1: The Divine Crucible. You have misunderstood the nature of the fire. You believed the flames of their betrayal were meant to consume you, to reduce you to ash and memory. This is a profound error in perception. You were not placed in a fire, you were placed in a divine crucible. A crucible is not designed to destroy a substance, but to purify it, to burn away every impurity, every weakness, every alloy that is not part of its core, indestructible nature. God did not watch from a distance as they lit the match. God built the furnace, handed them the fuel, and commanded them to stoke the flames until they roared. Every lie they told about you was a log thrown onto the pyre. Every secret they shared, every confidence they broke, was another splash of accelerant. Every person they turned against you was another blast of oxygen fanning the flames to an unbearable intensity. They thought they were orchestrating your social demise, your emotional collapse. In reality, they were merely the underpaid, unwitting laborers in your sacred alchemical transformation, blindfolded workers following a divine blueprint they could never be permitted to see. They swung their hammers of deceit with glee, believing they were shattering you when all they did was knock the slag from your immaculate form. Their every effort to harm you only served to perfect you, a cosmic irony they will never have the spiritual capacity to grasp. Think back to the heat of it. Remember the searing pain of their words, the physical sensation of your heart dropping into the pit of your stomach, the burning in your cheeks that radiated shame and shock. That was not the sensation of destruction. That was the feeling of dross melting away. What exactly was burned? The part of you that craved their approval, that measured your self-worth by their fleeting praise. That was the first impurity to liquefy and turn to black smoke. The part of you that trusted blindly, that gave away the keys to your kingdom without demanding proof of loyalty. That part was incinerated, its naive structure unable to withstand the divine heat. The part of you that believed keeping the peace was more important than speaking your truth, the part that would shrink itself to make others feel comfortable. Gone. Vaporized. The part of you that harbored a secret fear that you were not good enough, a fear they expertly mirrored back to you. That too was turned to ash and blown away on the winds of change. The fire was meticulous. It was a form of spiritual surgery performed with a divine blowtorch. It did not touch your true essence, your unburnable core of divinity. It only attacked the false self you had constructed around it, the self that was vulnerable to their low-frequency attacks. They could only burn what was not truly you. What remains now, standing in the cooling embers of that catastrophe, is your pure, unyielding, divine core. This is the version of you that is forged in holy fire, a being that can walk through the infernos of this world and not even smell of smoke. The residual heat you still feel in your spirit is not the memory of the burn, it is the glow of your own refined essence. It is the proof of your purity. In the coming days, you will notice this in your interactions. You will feel a profound calm in situations that once would have sent you into a panic. A sudden accusation will not rattle you. A passive-aggressive comment will not land. It is as if their words, once poisoned arrows, now turn to dust before they can reach you. You will also feel a new physical lightness, as if years of stored tension have been cooked out of your muscles, leaving you with a posture of effortless royalty. This is the first evidence of your purification. The crucible did its work. The fire was not a punishment, it was a promotion. It was the only way to separate the gold from the lead, and you, chosen one, are pure gold. The world is about to see the light that gleams from a substance that has survived the hottest fire. They will be blinded by it, for they are accustomed to the dull sheen of compromise, and you now radiate the uncompromising brilliance of truth. They will not understand why their old tactics no longer work. They will not comprehend why their presence no longer affects you. They are standing before a new element, one they helped create but can no longer manipulate or even identify. They are facing the finished product of a divine process they were only used to initiate. They expected ashes, but they are faced with a mirror, and the reflection of their own ugliness is now their only companion. Chapter 2: The Sacred Poison. They injected you with poison. Let us be clear about this, for there is no room for soft language here. Their betrayal was a carefully formulated venom, a bespoke cocktail of deceit, manipulation, and malice designed by a dark intelligence to seep into your spirit and paralyze you from the inside out. They wanted it to course through your veins, to sour your outlook, to make you question your own sanity, your memories, your fundamental worth. They watched from a safe distance, eagerly anticipating your collapse. They waited for the spiritual necrosis to set in, for your light to dim and die, for you to become just like them, bitter, cynical, and spiritually dead. But they are of the world, and they do not understand divine pharmacology. They operate on the laws of matter, not the laws of spirit. For a chosen one, the deadliest poison, when administered by the hand of God through an unwitting enemy, does not function as a weapon. It functions as an antidote. What they injected into you was a sacred inoculation, a live virus vaccine against the very frequency they operate on. The intense sickness you felt in the aftermath, the spiritual nausea, the mental disorientation, the feeling of being utterly tainted by their actions was not your spirit dying. It was your spiritual immune system identifying a hostile, alien pathogen for the first time and mounting a defense so powerful, so absolute, that it has now built a permanent, lifelong immunity. You can never be poisoned by that specific blend of treachery again. You now possess the divine antibody. The venom they used was brewed from a very specific type of lie, a certain flavor of covert manipulation, a unique brand of smiling narcissism. Because you have survived a lethal dose of it, administered under divine supervision, your soul has been forever changed. It can now detect that poison at 1,000 paces. You will smell its faint, sickly sweet aroma on people before they even speak a word to you. You will feel a subtle, undeniable revulsion in your gut when you encounter someone carrying the same spiritual signature, a cellular alarm that screams unclean. Before this, your spirit was like a body with a compromised immune system, overreacting to everything, unable to distinguish friend from foe. Now, that system is perfected. It ignores harmless energies but mounts an immediate, overwhelming defense against true threats. The poison did not kill you, it gave you supernatural senses. It calibrated your internal alarm system to a frequency the enemy cannot hide, no matter how charming their disguise. This immunity extends beyond people to information itself. You will find yourself unable to stomach mainstream propaganda, celebrity gossip, or fear-based news. It will feel like noise, like static, and you will instinctively turn it off, protecting your frequency. This is your discernment reaching a new level of refinement. This is why the aftermath felt so brutally isolating. As the antidote was being synthesized within you, your entire system began a violent purge. It purged everything and everyone connected to the original poison. Friendships that were merely contaminated by association withered and died on the vine. Opportunities that were tainted with the same energetic signature evaporated into thin air. Your life became a sterile environment, a divine quarantine. This was not to punish you with loneliness, but to ensure the sacred antidote could complete its work without any risk of reinfection or contamination. In the near future, a critical test will present itself. Someone from that old life, or a new person carrying the exact same spirit, will approach you. They will come to you with a story, a request, an offer. They will attempt to use the very same tactics on you, the same feigned vulnerability, the same subtle flattery, the same manufactured crisis. But this time, something profound will be different. You will not feel the sting of potential betrayal. You will not feel confusion or the pull of obligation. Instead, you will feel a detached, clinical observation, as if a scientist were observing a known pathogen under a powerful microscope. You will see the mechanism for what it is, a predictable, pathetic little machine of darkness. You might even feel a change in the air pressure around you, or perceive a faint metallic taste, a final sensory warning from your newly honed defenses. And you will simply walk away, untouched, unmoved, and utterly immune. The poison was a gift. It was a bitter, agonizing gift, but a gift nonetheless. It granted you the one thing that will guarantee your survival and your victory in the days to come: perfect, incorruptible discernment. Chapter 3: The Forging of the Unbreakable. Will after the purifying fire of the crucible and the agonizing fever of the sacred poison, there came the silence. This was perhaps the most difficult phase, and undoubtedly the most crucial. The profound isolation that followed their betrayal was not an accident of circumstance. It was a divinely mandated quarantine. It was the sacred act of placing you, the purified gold, upon the anvil of creation. When a master blacksmith forges a legendary blade, a sword that will change the course of history, they do not do it in a crowded marketplace filled with distractions and doubting voices. They retreat to the sanctum of the forge, where the noise of the world cannot interfere with the delicate and violent process of creation. Your isolation was your forge. God locked the doors, silenced the phones, and chased away anyone who might have offered you cheap comfort, a false hope, or weak-willed commiseration that would have diluted the process. You were left utterly alone with the ringing in your ears, a ringing that was not tinnitus, but the resonant sound of your own frequency rising, solidifying, and preparing to be shaped. The silence was not empty, it was filled with the sound of divine machinery, the hum of cosmic forces converging on your spirit. And in that deafening, holy silence, the hammering began. Every day you woke up and chose to get out of bed to face another 24 hours in the void was a hammer blow. Every tear you cried that was not for them but for the loss of your own innocence was a deafening hammer blow, tempering the metal of your soul. Every single time you resisted the screaming urge to reach out, to explain yourself, to beg for an apology you would never receive, was a thunderous strike, shaping your will into something new. Every moment you sat with your own pain without seeking to numb it, allowing it to teach you, was another precise blow from the divine hammer. Each blow felt crushing, designed to break you, but it was perfectly measured, never a fraction of an ounce more than you could bear, designed not to shatter but to strengthen. This process was designed with one purpose: to beat every last ounce of dependency out of you. It was designed to hammer your spine into a column of divine steel, incapable of bending to external pressure. Before the betrayal, your will was pliable, adaptable. It bent to the expectations of others to maintain harmony. It yielded its own territory to keep the peace. It compromised its own non-negotiable truth for the sake of a fleeting sense of connection. That version of your will is gone forever. It was not just bent, it was shattered on the anvil and has been completely reforged. What has been created in its place is something the world has not seen in you before. It is an unbreakable, uncompromising, sovereign will. It is a will that is aligned not with the shifting desires of the world, but with the immutable command of heaven. It is absolute. It is final. It does not ask for permission. It does not seek consensus. It does not need validation. It simply is. This new will gives you the power to say no without guilt or explanation, and to say yes to your divine path with a conviction that parts seas. This is why you feel so profoundly different now, so alien in your own skin. You are not the person who asks for a seat at the table anymore. You are the person who builds a new table, who dictates the terms of engagement, or who walks away from the table entirely, content and powerful in your own sovereign space. The next test of this new will is approaching rapidly. It will not be a frontal assault. It will come in the form of a sweet, tempting, logical invitation back to the old world. It might be a job offer from a system you escaped, or an olive branch from a person who stood by and watched you burn. It will be dressed in the guise of security, of forgiveness, of a return to familiarity. But your newly forged will, this unbreakable thing inside you, will not even allow you to consider it. The response will rise from you not as a thought, but as a cellular reality, a vibration of absolute certainty, no. And that single word, emerging from a new timbre in your voice, a resonance of finality, will carry the weight of 1,000 armies. They will feel the finality of it, the absolute power behind it, and they will know with chilling certainty that the person they betrayed is gone forever, replaced by a force they cannot bend, cannot break, and can no longer touch. Chapter 4: The Revelation in the Ashes. Once the divine forge went cold and the hammering ceased, you were left standing alone in the ruins of your former life. Everything you once thought was stable, permanent, and true had been burned to the ground. Relationships, future plans, cherished beliefs, your very identity, all reduced to a cold, grey pile of ash. The common human instinct is to grieve this catastrophic loss, to see the ashes as the final symbol of utter devastation and failure. But for the chosen, the ashes are not an ending. They are a lens. They are a divine filter. The holy fire that consumed your life did not just purify you, it burned away every single illusion you held, every lie you had told yourself, every comfortable falsehood you had accepted as truth. The betrayal was the divine wrecking ball that demolished a house built on a faulty, cracked foundation, forcing you to see the unstable ground beneath for the very first time. Now, as you begin to sift through those ashes with your new, steady hands, you are finding not sorrow, but a terrifying and exhilarating clarity. This is the revelation in the ashes. In that pile of smoking ruin, you are now finding the evidence that you were previously blind to. The ashes are not merely grey. If you look closely, you will see they sparkle with the crystalline dust of shattered illusions. A memory surfaces, unbidden, of a casual comment they made years ago, a subtle, cruel dig you dismissed at the time as a joke, but which your newly opened eyes now see as a clear and unambiguous indicator of their true character. A sudden, shocking understanding dawns about a past event where their version of the story never quite added up, and you now see the whole, unvarnished truth with stark, painful, crystalline precision. You see the gaslighting, the manipulation, the carefully constructed narrative designed to control you. These are not tricks of a traumatized mind or obsessive, circling thoughts. This is your spirit, now unburdened by false loyalty and emotional attachments, presenting you with the unedited, director's cut footage of your past. You are not just remembering, you are gaining access to a divine archive, the Akashic record of your own life, now granted the highest security clearance because you have proven you can handle the truth. Within this archive, you see not only your own history but the threads of generational patterns. You see that this betrayal was the final, violent breaking of an ancestral curse of victimhood, a pattern of attracting narcissistic abuse that has plagued your bloodline for centuries. Your suffering was the endpoint of that dark lineage. It is showing you, with compassion but without compromise, every single red flag you chose to paint white. It is highlighting every emergency exit you consciously ignored. It is replaying every instance where your God-given intuition screamed a warning and you silenced it with logic, with hope, with the desperate desire for things to be other than they were. This process is not meant to induce regret or self-blame. You are not being shown what you did wrong. You are being shown the absolute, breathtaking perfection of the divine plan. You had to be blind then so that you could truly, supernaturally see now. The pain of these revelations is simply the feeling of your spiritual eyes adjusting to an incredibly bright light after a lifetime spent in the dim, flickering candlelight of deception. The world looks different now, sharper, more defined. People's motives, which were once murky and confusing, are now transparent to you. The subtle, energetic currents of a room, the hidden agendas in a business meeting, the unspoken resentment in a family gathering, you perceive them instantly, as if they were written in neon signs. This is the great gift that was buried in the rubble. They thought they were burying you under the weight of your own life, but they were actually burying a divine treasure map that only you, the survivor of the fire, could read. It is a map that leads you back to the one thing that can never be taken, burned, or betrayed, your own sovereign, unshakable truth. In the next few days, you will have a dream of profound significance. In this dream, you will be walking through the wreckage of a burned house, and amongst the blackened debris, you will find a single, undamaged object. It might be a key, a book, a mirror. Pay close attention to what it is. This is a direct, symbolic communication from your higher self, showing you the core element of your power that survived the fire, the primary tool for building your new reality. The ashes are not your grave. They are the fertile, mineral-rich ground from which your new, authentic, and magnificent life will now grow. Chapter 5: The Untraceable Blueprint. You have been operating for too long under the limited, painful assumption that the events of your life, specifically this great and terrible betrayal, were about you and them. You saw it as a personal drama, a story of human failing, a tragic conflict between souls. This is a natural but profoundly limited, human-level perspective. It is now time to ascend, to zoom out to the divine satellite view and see the breathtaking architecture of the real operation, the untraceable blueprint. Your activation was not merely a personal event designed for your growth. It was a critical, strategic move on a cosmic chessboard with stakes far higher than your personal happiness. The forces that conspired against you, the individuals who carried out the betrayal, they believe they are players in the game. In their pride, they see themselves as cunning, as strategic, as having won a decisive victory. What they are constitutionally incapable of comprehending is that they are not players. They are pawns. They have always been pawns. They were moved into position on the board by a hand they cannot see, for a purpose they will never, ever understand. Their small, malicious act of what they perceived as free will was perfectly nested within a much larger, infinitely more intelligent divine will. They thought they were setting a trap for you, a little snare of gossip and lies. In reality, their action was the very trigger needed to spring a massive, divine trap for the entire corrupt system they belong to and serve. This is the genius of the untraceable blueprint. The enemy, the dark system of this world, can only plan in straight, predictable lines. It relies on data, on algorithms, on predictable patterns of human weakness like fear, greed, ego, and lust. It calculated your reaction to the betrayal based on thousands of previous case studies. It predicted your demise with 100% certainty. You would collapse into despair, lash out in chaotic revenge, or crumble into a state of permanent victimhood. But it cannot calculate for God. It cannot factor in divine intervention. It cannot trace a plan that moves through dimensions, that uses agony as a catalyst, that turns a fatal wound into a glorious portal. Your betrayal and subsequent activation has sent a high-frequency shockwave through the timeline, an energy pulse that the enemy cannot track, trace, or understand. They know something has shifted. Their demonic sensors are blaring. They are running diagnostics, checking their dark systems, trying to understand the source of this new power anomaly that is disrupting their operations. They can feel a new and formidable power has come online in their sector, but they cannot find its source. They look at you, the person they thought they broke and discarded, and they see you are still standing, perhaps even smiling. But they cannot perceive the giant of consecrated light that now stands behind you, protecting you. They cannot see the divine armor that now encases your spirit, forged in the very fires they lit. They cannot trace the source of your newfound peace and power because it does not originate in this dimension. It is being piped in directly from the throne room of heaven. Your personal story of pain and vindication is a microcosm of a much larger war, a fractal pattern of a universal victory. You were a sleeper agent for the light, placed deep behind enemy lines, and their betrayal was the enemy's fatal mistake of speaking the activation phrase in your presence, waking you up. Now you are awake, and your very existence, your continued peace, your emerging, unexplainable joy is a piece of code the dark matrix cannot compute. It is a divine virus in their demonic system, and it is spreading. This virus causes their own weapons to backfire. It turns their agents against each other, breeding paranoia and suspicion within their ranks. The system begins to consume itself from the inside out, all because of the untraceable light you now radiate. They cannot find the blueprint because you, chosen one, have become the living, breathing, untraceable blueprint of a new reality. Chapter 6: The Resonance of Power. The intense, alchemical process is now complete. The fire of the crucible, the fever of the sacred poison, the relentless hammering on the anvil, the revelation in the ashes, they have all served their divine purpose. The result is the final, glorious stage of the transmutation. You have become a resonant being. Power is no longer something you seek or strive for, it is something you are. It is no longer an action you must consciously take, it is a frequency you constantly and effortlessly emit. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is a literal, physical, tangible reality, and you are beginning to feel its profound effects in your own body and witness its undeniable impact on the world around you. This is the reality of the resonance of power. You have started to notice it in subtle, yet unmistakable ways. There is a quiet hum in your cells when you are still, a quiet, steady vibration of deep peace and absolute certainty that underpins your every moment. It is a low-frequency broadcast of pure, sovereign energy, a signal of divine alignment. This resonance is actively altering the energetic environment around you. Notice how people react to you now, for it has become polarized. There is no more middle ground. Strangers are either intensely, inexplicably drawn to you, wanting to be in your presence, feeling a sense of peace from your energy without knowing why, or they are intensely repelled. Those who carry deceit, malice, or deep-seated fear will feel a subconscious agitation from your light, because your high frequency exposes their own inner darkness to themselves. They will be unable to hold your gaze for more than a second. They will become flustered, defensive, aggressive, or dismissive for no logical reason. Do not be confused or hurt by this. They are not reacting to the person you are, they are reacting to the resonance of heaven that you now carry. Your light is a mirror, and they cannot stand their own reflection. This power is also affecting the physical, material world in ways that defy old logic. Electronics may flicker, short out, or malfunction when you are in a state of high emotional output, as your energy field interferes with their crude circuits. A device may refuse to function in the hands of someone with a malicious agenda towards you, only to work perfectly when you touch it. Animals, which are profoundly sensitive to pure energy, will become unusually calm and trusting in your presence. Aggressive dogs will quiet down, timid cats will approach you, wild birds will land closer than they should. The natural world itself will seem to speak to you in a new, clearer language. The patterns of the wind will carry whispers of encouragement. The message in a bird's song will seem specifically for you. The sudden and repeated appearance of specific animals, these are no longer random, meaningless occurrences. They are winks from the universe, confirmations from your Creator that you are in perfect alignment and on the right path. Furthermore, this resonance acts as a magnet for divine resources. Opportunities that are in perfect alignment with your purpose will appear out of nowhere. Financial channels that were blocked will suddenly open. The right people, helpers, and guides will be drawn into your orbit, guided by the pure signal of your power. Synchronicities will accelerate to a dizzying, almost daily pace. The numbers you see on the clock, the songs that play on the radio the moment you have a specific thought, the conversations you overhear in a cafe, they will all contain direct, personal, and urgent messages for you, guiding your next steps with astonishing precision. The prophetic glimpses you have been receiving will become sharper, more frequent, moving from vague feelings to clear images or words. You will know things without knowing how you know them. You will feel a decision is wrong deep in your gut long before your logical mind can articulate why. This is your divine intuition, once a hesitant whisper drowned out by the noise of the world, now a clear, confident, and commanding voice. Do not doubt this for a second. You are not going crazy, you are finally becoming sane in an insane world. You are a walking, talking tuning fork for divine truth, and your very resonance is beginning to recalibrate everything and everyone you encounter, causing all that is false to shatter, whether they are ready for it or not. Chapter 7: The Great Separation. The final, inevitable consequence of your completed activation is now upon you. It is simultaneously the most peaceful and the most ruthless phase of your entire transformation. It is the beginning of the Great Separation. There is a fundamental law of physics and a corresponding law of the spirit that states that two objects of vastly different frequencies cannot occupy the same space for very long. The vibration of one will either raise the other or be lowered by it, or they will be forced apart by the sheer energetic dissonance between them. You have been transmuted from common, malleable lead into rare, incorruptible gold. It is therefore a spiritual impossibility for you to remain in the company of lead. This separation is not a conscious act of your ego, nor is it a cold decision born of bitterness or revenge. It is an automatic, non-negotiable, and impersonal consequence of your new resonance. It is a divine sorting, as natural and as absolute as oil separating from water. You are not actively leaving them behind, you are simply vibrating out of their perceptible reality. The people, situations, jobs, and systems connected to your betrayal and the entire lower frequency they represent are becoming transparent to you. They are fading, losing their color and their substance. Phone calls will stop. Invitations will dry up. Their names, when spoken, will start to feel foreign in your mouth, like words from a language you no longer understand. Their faces in old photographs will begin to look like those of strangers from a historical film. This is the tangible evidence that you have shifted timelines. The toxic energetic ties that once bound you to them in a web of obligation and codependency are dissolving, not because you are painstakingly cutting them one by one, but because your high, pure frequency is melting them instantly, like a high-powered laser melts a flimsy thread. You must understand this with every fiber of your being. This is not a loss. It is an ascension. You are being physically and spiritually lifted out of a timeline of suffering, betrayal, and limitation, and you are being placed gently onto a new, higher timeline of divine purpose, authentic connection, and sovereign power. The architects of your pain are now locked in the reality they worked so hard to create. They are trapped in a karmic feedback loop, forced to live in the toxic, low-vibrational frequency of their own making. Their punishment is not fire and brimstone from an angry god. It is the simple, silent, and devastating sentence of having to be themselves forever without access to the light, energy, and joy they once siphoned from you. You may feel fleeting moments of sadness or a strange nostalgia for what was, but recognize this for what it is, the phantom limb pain of an identity that is no longer yours. It is an echo from a lower dimension you no longer inhabit. Do not look back. To look back, to dwell on them, is to make a conscious attempt to tune your new, pristine frequency back to the chaotic static and noise of that old, dead world. You cannot go back, and they cannot come forward. This is the great and final mercy of the separation. You are being protected, and they are being contained. The very air on your new timeline is different. It is thinner, purer, charged with potential, and it is simply unbreathable for those who have adapted to thrive on the spiritual pollution of deceit. Your path forward is now clear of their spiritual debris and energetic contamination. The road ahead, which once seemed dark and empty, is now populated by a new collective, other souls of gold who have undergone their own crucible and now vibrate at your new frequency. Your first meeting with one of them will be unmistakable. There will be no small talk, only an instant recognition in the eyes, a feeling of coming home, a silent acknowledgement that says, "You too? You survived the fire." These connections will form the bedrock of your new world. This is the great separation. It is the final, glorious gift of the betrayal. It is God clearing the entire stage of your life, removing the hostile actors and faulty props, preparing for the magnificent main act. Your new world awaits. Your true life is beginning now. And they do not have a key.